Welcome to another live stream. Sorry, I had to clear my throat. And we are in the weekend. Hopefully, you guys are having a good time, and hopefully, um, there's at least a measure of peace in your life. And I've talked about the times of refreshing, and sometimes it gets really bad, and sometimes it's okay. And hopefully, I found you in that place. And one of the things that I've emphasized is to be grateful for the simple things, because life is like that. Um, I've mentioned before that with individuals who partake within this heinous crime of group harassment, gang stalking, group mobbing, whatever you want to call it, they don't. They are taking things for granted, and it leads you to one conclusion: is that they are not enjoying their life. Why would they do these things? Why would they take the time out of this so-called fulfilling existence of theirs to ruin yours? Because that doesn't make sense. And in the last live stream, we talked about some of the motives, and one of the obvious ones is money, right? Some of the other things are a little stranger. When you get into controlling people, right? You don't have control over something in your life. You want to control someone else. And so you can't enjoy your life, so you just have to ruin someone else's. You have to make them a prisoner with you in your existence of misery. Unfortunately, people are like that. I've pointed several of these individuals out before. There's no need to do that. But they do come in from time to time and harass people, or they harass people within the target individual community. And it becomes obvious that these people are very miserable. There's really no other explanation for it. You can use just yourself as an example. I mean, if you're in a good mood, if you're feeling happy or satisfied, the last thing you're going to do is something mischievous, or the things involved in gang stalking are even beyond that, right? You're not going to do that, right? It's when people are bitter. It's when people are angry, when they need someone to vent on, and so on and so forth. They're not satisfied. The misery always enjoys company, right? It's very true. And it's a fundamental reality, excuse me, that we all deal with. And the title, Gang Stalking is Premeditated Murder. Or are they just trying to harass me? Maybe they're just trying to, if you're new, you might be thinking these things. You might be wondering what's going on. Are they just, playing a little power game with me? Is this about, just some prank or something? Who step up on me? Is that what's, well, I don't know. I don't know what you're dealing with. But if you're the traditional targeted individual, right, the classic target, it's way beyond that. One of the biggest mistakes that I made, and all other targets who deal with higher levels of harassment make, is that they assume that's all this is. It's a little game. You got me, right? Wow. Boy, I didn't, you guys really, and that's one of the things that I've told people: do not give out your personal information. Lawsuits, whatever. It's all BS. It's a fishing expedition. And what they want to do is they want to play a little game with you. And, it's sometimes they'll be bait. And in fact, I talked to another targeted individual a little while ago. And sometimes, these people will get aggressive or whatever. And they might try to call you out or mention you or whatever was going on. And we got this little conversation. It's like, what do you mean? What are you worried about? This person is just maybe jealous of you, or maybe they're, it's, well, I don't know. the thing that you have to worry about is what you have to worry about. And what you have to worry about are the things that matter. Okay? It's kind of like some of the ridiculous straw man arguments you get into. And I've always talked about the law of zero effect, right? If you're going to play chess, if you're going to do anything, you don't worry about the things that don't matter. You have to worry about the things that matter. You might be getting baited, right? And, then what? Well, the thing about gang stalking is that you are ganged up on, right? That's why it's called gang stalking. And of course, you get drawn into that game dynamic. It's filled with vanity. They want you to think somehow that you were on this contest with them, depending on what you're dealing with. It's not always like that. And of course, they're going to win because why? Because you're surrounded. They've come, taken this alliance, whoever it is, and they've combined their resources, and you can't really compete with something like that, especially, if you're dealing with higher forms of harassment, which is what I'm getting into with the pre-planned scenario, is that you might be watched or surveilled for a long time before this whole thing starts. They're getting dirt on you, or they're collecting information, and then they'll bait you. It's almost like that gang member, the skinny guy, or somebody who's not very threatening, and they'll throw that guy out as bait right on the edge of maybe a forest line or something on the the edge of an urban area, and they'll see the other gang members and they'll look like they're alone, right? They look alone. There's nothing really that threatening about it. Of course, they're going to start kind of baiting them, right? They've already got the other gang colors on or whatever, and they start getting lippy, and of course the other gang members chase them beyond that forest line into the forest. We're going to get you. And they get further in, and then they get to a small clearing, and then they start threatening that individual. We're going to mess you up. You ain't going to mess with us. Oh, you're toast now. You're done, boy. And then all of a sudden, all his friends step out from behind the tree line, right? And it's a different story now, isn't it? Bait, live bait, right? Pre-planned. The whole thing was planned out. You got 3 guys chasing one dude in there that run into 25 gang members in the darkness of a clearing where nobody can help them. It's not a good scenario, is it? That's what they're doing to targeted individuals. Sometimes it involves ego inflation. I've talked about that before too. Or they'll even play little games with targets as they experience the gang stalking. And, it's like targets will talk about the fact that it changes. They'll have a time where it just seems like it's over. Maybe it stopped. They don't know. But people will be treating them normal. Oh, let me get the door for you. Oh, it's a beautiful day. Right? And some targets, they go from day to day. And sometimes it's just weird how these things happen. You wonder, and it's not always about you. You have to process information correctly. And I've talked about that before, that, these things are theme-based. And if you start processing it in a personal way, you're playing into their strategy. You end up wondering if you're in some matrix or something. But, it's theme-based, but the target, of course, will start, I don't know, they will expect logic, because some targets, they'll deal with attacks so intensely that they will, they're sensitized, they're paranoid, and then finally they start figuring some of it out. Like, man, they're just freaking me out. They just want me to think about this stuff all the time. They want me to take this in a personal way and make me look crazy. They want me to react. They want me to do this. They want me to do that. And they stop. They're not looking for it anymore. They're not paying attention to the directed conversations. They're not looking for the things that they've been sensitized to. And what are they going to do? They're not able to control you anymore. They're not able to manipulate you anymore. What are they going to do? Well, they're going to have to change the stimuli of the environment, right? A lot of these things are based on environmental tyranny, environmental stimuli. And that's how they control people, to form propositions in their mind or create emotional currency. Scare you, to get you hopeful, take it all away, right? Rain on your parade. Let you in the social group, but then sabotage you on the camping trip where you're 50 miles from, well, civilization. It's an awkward scenario. And then they'll do that kind of thing. I was talking to one guy one time. He said that he was invited out on a camping trip. And everything, oh, yeah, seemed like they're normal people. We just want to go camping. Yippee. And everything was cool until they got way out there, way out in the middle of nowhere. And then they started pulling off the directed conversations, started getting weird, acting unpredictable. You gotta love it, man. You gotta love it. And to follow the theme of what I'm getting at is that people are being set up. I've talked about that before. They are surveilled. Sometimes they're collecting information on you. Sometimes they're watching you, maybe on your phone or whatever. They're collecting information there. And what they want to do is they want to bait you, and they want you to become involved in that game dynamic. And then, of course, because it's not enough to just bully you, right? It's not enough to do that. They've got to dominate you. They've got to dominate you, right? We win, right? You lose, and that's their power, Then it's not like that in all scenarios. Some of you guys might be, dealing with that experimental scenario where they're looking for ways to silence whistleblowers or, mind control, or who knows. Some of it's like the vampire stuff we talked about, but it is literally set up. And I've heard this from other targets, because, when you play this game long enough, you end up thinking back. You have a lot of time alone, usually as a classic targeted individual experiencing group harassment. And you end up remembering things that, like I said, when you're sensitized, you're going to notice it, right? You're like, oh, these people are messing with me. They're doing something weird or whatever it is, or they're in a directed conversation. But if you were not sensitized, if you didn't know what was going on, you'd be just thinking they're maybe, I don't know, sleep deprived or just being weird or something. You're not going to notice it. But because you've been sensitized to it, you notice these things, and then you start thinking back, and you're like, oh, that must have been what that conversation was about, when that person said, later when we're going to drive you crazy, then you'll know what I'm talking about. And because they said something weird to you. I've had those things happen. A lot of targets talk about that, and you're like, what the hell was that? You need a Snickers bar and a nap or something? What's your problem, man? But then you realize later, and you compile these little scenarios that you experience, these little incidents that you have in your past, this labyrinth. Sometimes it's a little more, I don't know, cultivated, depending on who you are. And it's there for a reason, right? Because they're not going to, they'll do that to you, but they're not really going to put you in an overt stalking scenario yet. It's foreplay, right? Or just a little bit of foreplay. And then later they're going to, like I said, I don't know, maybe use ego inflation or the game dynamic, or put you in a social circle, or you're going to have a lot of things on your plate that you're trying to accomplish, because not only are they going to dominate you, they're going to ruin it all. Maybe you're trying to start a small business. There's a target out there that I talked to who had a very successful business, and then there was all these people that just suddenly had free drugs and everything else. And it's like they come to take. Not only that, it's like an assassination. It's just done covertly. No touch torture, no touch kill, soft kill, eliminate, erase, plausible deniability. And the thing is they know you. It's just like some of the people that come in on the channel. There was an individual that threatened me last night on the channel. And by the way, I'm just going to look and see if everything is fine out there. Can you guys hear me? I don't even know here. Oh, Chief Handler is in here. Really? Really? Okay. Wonderful. Well, I don't know if we have any moderators. It's always interesting to see these individuals. Good gosh. Well, anyway. So we do have audio. Everything seems to be fine. Nobody's complaining about this. Anyway, get back to the point. Some of the individuals that come in, they might threaten, right? And you're thinking, wait a minute. If a lot of targets will deal with that. They'll deal with people who are skeptical of the target individual community, and they'll say, well, you know what? I'll show you what stalking is. I'll come and show you what it's like to be a target. And you're thinking to yourself, what are you doing here, first of all? Right? Like I mentioned in the beginning of the show. What the hell are you got all these options. Go have some fun. Go do something. Don't let me hold you back. Right? Go live your life. Right? So they're, kind of displaying, if you will, their own destitution at that point. And you're like, well, so obviously these people, they might even be targets or something. They just might not know it. They're miserable. Why the hell would they want to do something like that? And then they're obviously, not very happy. And now they're going to drag me into their nightmare. But wait a minute. I'm a stranger, right? Like that individual that threatened me last night. He said, I'm going to get your name. I'm going to get your number. I'm going to get you. I'm going to show you what stalking is. I'm like, God, I hope this guy's joking. But here's what I would say to someone like that. Why are you coming after me? I am a stranger. Are you telling me that there's no one out there who's messed with you, who's done you wrong? Wouldn't it be more satisfying to go get one of them? Why would you come after me? I don't even know you. I have no idea who you are. Trust me. If you're going to do something like that, spend your God-given time and resources to harass someone and ruin their life, you'd probably be a whole lot more satisfied in doing it to someone who's never done anything to you. No, you want to go after someone who's done you wrong, right? There's got to be somebody out there who's pissed you off. I mean, it's certainly not me. You don't even know me. Are you really fishing for a victim that bad? Maybe your life isn't that bad. If I was you, if you don't have anyone out there that you hate enough and you're just looking for a victim, well, why don't you just look at us? At least you're not like we are. You could be happy about that. Because targeted individuals, by and large, are minding their own business. Right? We're not messing with anybody. Doesn't happen that way. If you are, you're not a target. You asked for it. Targeted individuals are usually law-abiding citizens. They're minding their own business. It'd be a whole lot more satisfying to go after somebody that did you wrong. And then it becomes unbelievable. Because who would do that? No one. Why would someone, because always you attracted a weirdo. No, weirdos look for people who mess them around. And there's usually a lot of people that are messing with them and ruining their life to make them that way. That's what happens to targets. They'd go after them. They wouldn't just look for a stranger, and especially somebody who might live a state or 5 or 6, 7 states away. Why would they do that? And then you're thinking, why would they even come into the live stream? Why would they? There's people that are members of my channel that are not alerted to the live stream, and they get mad. Oh, I missed it. I missed the live stream, man. I had my notification on. What's going on, Doc? I don't know. There's a lot of strange things that happen within the realm of technology and the online community. A lot of people think that they're sneaking around in the dark web. Do you know the government created that to watch people? By the way, if any of you are out there thinking that you're getting away with crime on the dark web, they created that for reasons of communication and surveillance, for people who are spies, that they communicate on the dark web and hide within that realm. But they're watching the whole thing. There is no secrets. It's hilarious. But getting back to the point, that's not a stranger. That's not someone, just some weirdo out there that all of a sudden just saw my channel. No, that's somebody who probably already knows me, right? Or at least knows of me. That's someone who's probably involved in that hunting campaign that's out there that all targeted individuals are dealing with. You guys have seen that. You get the targets that play like, oh yeah, I'm a targeted individual, but they're not. They're fishing for information. They want your email address. They want your phone number. They want to know who you are, and they want to try and terrorize you or whatever. This whole thing is just based on loose control, narcissist abuse, and money. And some of them might be working for the government. You wonder why they're doing it, especially on a Friday night. That was last night. Who in their right mind would, go out, go live, go do something? But it's a good example because it's not believable, right? First of all, you go after somebody that did you wrong, go after a stranger. And second of all, what would you even be doing in the live stream? That's a lie. The whole thing was a lie. And targeted individuals are being set up. What's my point by bringing that up? It's the same as all of it. These individuals, sometimes they're after you way before you even know they are. There's a lot of targets that will talk about monitoring spirits and stuff like that. I don't know. I would imagine that there's biblical criteria for some of those things, and I think that they're watching everyone. But the thing is that people can be activated. Sometimes they know what's going on, and sometimes they're just being mischievous, and thoughts are popping into their head, and they're just playing into that whole thing, and they're at a low level of awareness, but they still become involved. And then you have, it's like the little kids and stuff like that. All of a sudden, they just get mischievous and start doing stuff. When I was a little kid, I was the neighbors were Christians, and I would just get all these mischievous thoughts in my head and start doing the craziest things. And they would say, that's the devil, And of course, I thought they were just nuts. But now I look back on it, it probably was, right? I mean, it was crazy, the things that would just pop into my head, and I would end up, in these strange, things where I would be in fights with the kids, and we would be doing something mischievous, and we would be, doing something we're not supposed to do, and they would blame me or whatever. But that's how it works. Some of the time, sometimes it's beyond that though, where people will know. A lot of targets will deal with the comments and the foreshadow and the directed conversations and stuff like that. And they've got a literal plan to mess with you, and it involves a scientific equation. I've talked about that. They harass you. They get you to, pay attention to certain stimuli. Then they start communicating with you secretly, and then they just gaslight you and make you think you're nuts, right? Right after they sensitize you and get you paranoid and watch you spiral. Right? You're isolated. You're experiencing all kinds of sabotage and everything. But then they'll start, playing little games with you then. Oh, why don't you come over for the barbecue? Yeah. Let's go camping. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, what are you, paranoid? Oh, no. Why are you taking your drink with you around the bar? You think somebody's going to drug you? Oh, of course not. No, that's never happened. Yeah, they'll do it. And of course, then they'll start messing with you. It's hilarious. And I've mentioned before that, what happens to people, it's very reckless because people will be harassed and who knows what's going to happen to them. Not only are they in a state of confusion and dysregulation, which is a strategy that is used for that type of propositional tyranny and emotional currency, right? Even when we deal with the false religions and stuff like that, the false teachers and stuff like that out there, they have spirits following them around, and they will literally get people in a state of euphoria. And of course, that stimuli around the false doctrine, they'll just believe it. The burning of the bosom or other things like in Mormonism or other religions, where to them, that's enough evidence for them to believe it. I felt good. I felt peaceful or whatever. It must be God. That's not what's going on, though. They're being manipulated, right? Emotionally. And, some of the individuals that become involved in this, they do get regulated. I talked about the vampire stuff or whatever. And, it's like they get a little skip in their step. And they're going to, kind of stomp around you and feel justified in their conformity, or depending on the situation, whatever's going on. Sometimes it's just sadism, I swear. But they'll get something out of it. But, the whole thing is literally premeditated. And some of these individuals have a lot more knowledge involved in that. And, when it comes to dysregulating you, that's when they start controlling people emotionally. And that's when people can experience the traumatic invasion into their mind, right? It's all good until it's not. Right. Like I said, you get into a social crowd or whatever, and then all of a sudden innuendos are going on and these little private conversations are going on, and you're like, what? Oh, it's not about you. Don't worry. But people are acting different. A lot of targets will talk about that. And then they'll start experiencing a type of incremental isolation. They're not in on the convo. That's the first one. Oh, we're talking about something. Don't worry about it. And then all of a sudden they're left out of whatever, maybe a certain get together or something, and then it's like, well, you guys used to call me every other day or whatever, and it's like you wanted to go out and do the, but now you just and then it becomes more aggressive, and then it boosts in its exponential level to where people are literally hostile towards the targeted individual, and then you're left wondering why. You might be accused of deviancy. I've talked about that. Maybe that you're a drug dealer or you're some kind of, predator or something. We know about you and a lot of targets. But then, of course, you're in this hyper-vigilant mode, and it's a trap is all it is. I think some of them know. Some of these people probably believe that stuff. But the problem with that whole theory is that if they were really these vigilante justice individuals that were just torturing you and harassing you because they thought you were a drug dealer or something, there's plenty of them out there. They're not going after them. Why'd they wait until you showed up? They're getting paid probably. Either that or they're lying, and they want you to sit around and think that all these people are thinking these things about you so that you can be triggered. And so you can start talking about it to make it look legitimate. And then people will believe the lie. You start talking about, being accused of selling, amphetamines or something. And what did you bring that up for? Maybe you are guilty, or whatever is going on. And that's just how this little kitty came up here. Oh, my goodness. Well, she likes to come up and sit on me when I'm doing these. And she feels left out, so I'm going to go into the comments. Well, I don't know if there's a moderator in here to get rid of this chief handler guy. But, dude, I mean, you're the perfect example. Why aren't you out doing something? Why would you be here, man? Let's just take a look at one of the comments from this guy, okay? I don't get it, man. Oh, this is horrible. This individual is really just beyond. Why would you be so bitter towards these people here? And why aren't you out enjoying your life? Think about it. I'm trying to help you. I am. Chief handler, whoever you are. If it's that bad, If it's that bad, I'm sorry. I don't know. Maybe there's things in your life that I'm not aware of. And I apologize that that's going on, because we're all kind of like that. Things are good until they're not, right? We're susceptible to that. Sometimes I lash out at people. But I want you to think about something. These individuals that I'm dealing with, that I am sharing this information with, at the very least, believe that they are being harassed, and they're dysregulated. They are dealing with something that's very unpleasant. Okay. If you're not, then be thankful for that. Maybe you're not realizing the options out there that you have. You certainly shouldn't be here. That doesn't make any sense at all. You're not really affecting me. You look ridiculous, unfortunately. Why don't you choose to elevate yourself and put yourself, rather than in that negative vibration, in that negative mindset? Why don't you try helping somebody out? It feels good. This is not going to work for you. It's not. It's really not going to work for you. Gosh, this is horrible. Well, here's one of the good ones here. I have to show this one. So Chief Handler says, nobody is stalking you. Well, you are. What are you doing here? Why are you here? What are you doing here? You're stalking all these people right now. Right? That's ridiculous. What do you mean you're there? What, nobody is stalking, just you. That's all. You got to be kidding me. Right? Okay, and here we got another one from Chief Handler. Right? I think. Let's see if we got that one here. Okay, let's get this one up there. I mean, I really feel bad for you. What are you doing here? And so Chief Handler says, it's not real. You're just a delusional loser, right? Okay. Well, that's very generous of you. This is classic. This is the classic stuff that, okay, what's the contradiction here? If they are delusional, they're obviously not losers, because they have some. The schizophrenia was another comment that Chief Handler put up there. I could put that one up too. If that's true, why would you victimize them based on their mental delusion? Why if they're sick, if these people are literally the delusional individuals that you believe they are, why would you stick in the knife and turn it? That's not only is that sadistic, it's not realistic. So I don't believe you. I don't believe that this individual thinks that. You don't believe that these targets are delusional. First of all, you're literally stalking people. If nothing else, in the comments. I mean, I don't know what you're doing in your life, but this is a really horrible reflection of your decisions. Who knows what you're doing in real life? Maybe this is some kind of weird thing you do, and it's just the way you deal with it, and in regular interactions that you have, you're a really nice person. I don't know. I mean, I could assume a lot of things about you. I don't know. But that's inconsistent. It's very inconsistent, because if they are schizophrenic, right, which is the next comment, right? Well, it's not their fault, is it? And I think I put that one up there. Let's try to find that one. I thought I did. I'm going to look for it. The schizophrenic comment here. Let's see if we can find that one. Mrs. Matson Wiles, thanks for coming in here. Okay, there, I hit the button twice, and that's why. And so we have another comment. And I'm not going to get rid of him yet, right? Because this is something that is a classic example. I might have to. And I don't know why this individual is so miserable that they have to do this type of thing. It's unfortunate. It really is. And I think we've probably had enough with this individual. And we're going to have to get rid of you. But it is a lesson in the things that targets deal with, the accusations and the very obvious inconsistencies. If people really believed you were crazy, at least they would feel bad, or they wouldn't get angry and call you a loser. No. They would have compassion on you, wouldn't they? Right? That's very, very inconsistent. It's not believable. Like the example that I gave earlier, the individual that threatened me yesterday, I was like, man, I hope you're joking. Go get somebody that did something to you. Don't come after somebody like me. I wouldn't do anything to you. Man, I don't got anything against you. I'm not gonna hurt you. Right? Go after somebody that did you wrong. It's not believable. And who knows what's going to happen when targets are harassed. Like I said, just becoming complacent at a job site is dangerous. We worked around the railroad doing the fiber optic pop site installation, and we had to go to railroad safety school. And the number one killer was complacency, because people are just distracted. Targeted individuals are very distracted. These things consume your mind because it ruins your life. You could get in a car accident. You could, blow up on somebody or react to a normal scenario that people run into. You might end up abusing people that you love because you're so stressed out and just frazzled by this whole thing that you end up lashing out, and it's just too much. It's too much. And there's casualties. There's collateral damage. It's not acceptable. It's evil. And there will be a penalty. And that penalty will be exponential. And targets need to know that. Okay. I've mentioned the legal framework before, and it's out there. It's based on spiritual do's and don'ts. I've mentioned very simple concepts like doing good to those because you want people to do good to you, right? Treat others as you want to be treated. Love your neighbor as yourself, right? Don't be a hypocrite. And there's a penalty for that. There's no excuse. And the thing about the gang stalkers is that they are chronic transgressors, right? They chronically do this kind of thing. And, it's like anything. And I've talked about, the criteria when you get into the legal framework, when you get into the oaths of the secret societies, you get into witchcraft or whatever, they get you to do something. And it's not good. It's a trespass. It's a transgression. It's a violation of the norms of society or the spiritual law in some way. And then, of course, they get more leeway to inflict, to own that individual. It's like the oppression that even the Catholic Church talks about. I'm not endorsing them, but they do that exponentially. They invade, they harass, and eventually they take over, right? And some of that stuff is true. And when people become involved in this, they violate the legal framework. You're not supposed to do that to people. Chief Handler was a good example. You want to be treated that way when you're sick or you're having a problem, assuming that he really believes that people are delusional? No. Well, if you ever have a problem, guess who's going to be waiting for you? Yeah, you in a different mask in the dispensation of your transgression, right? What you sow, you reap. It's very simple concept, right? Don't do it to yourself. I've mentioned that too. That, if you're a target, these people aren't going to get away with this stuff forever. They're just storing it up. There's a harvest coming, period. Right? And the whole testing of faith and the obfuscation of these things is necessary because the environment says one thing and your faith says the other, depending on who you are. If you're a believer and you believe in the judgment of God and you believe in the biblical criteria, well, they're just not going to get away with it. You can't play that game. And it goes into the gaslighting that I've talked about before too, where the targets are led to believe these people are just helping them. Well, God can work it out. But they certainly they're transgressing what? The legal framework. And they are opening themselves up for ownership of the other side. And that's not good. You don't want that. That's what they do. That's why they get them. But they'll offer them things that talked about money, regulation, privileges, power, pleasure, and the passing of time. The 4 P's, right? Power, privilege, pleasure, and the passing of time. And they watch as you suffer, or you watch as they seem to prosper, and that tests your faith. It's very simple. I'm going to go into the comments. Oh, Jill Alcock, welcome to the live stream. Nice to have you. Lord, be a lamp under my feet. Welcome. Bora Bora. Whoa, welcome. Ernie. Oh, yeah. Okay. It looks like he was interacting with the handler, man. Yeah, what are you going to do? I mean, like I said, I don't have any moderators in here. I had to do that, but we tried to use it for what it's worth. Okay. Nicholas Boserman, welcome to the live stream. And Nicholas said he fell asleep at the wheel for a second. Okay, right on. Don't worry about it. Okay. Steve the Pigeon. Oh, welcome. Well, he's way on the other side of the world. So it's got to be it's the middle of the night for Steve. So he's in the still of the night right now. Well, hopefully things are going well for you, Steve. And hopefully we found you in a time of peace, and may the rest of your morning be pleasant. And I don't know if I'm supposed to say this or not, but he's dealt with some harassment where there's timing involved. So I'm not going to mention what it is, but a lot of targets will deal with that. And it's interesting because a lot of times you'll be asked questions, or people will kind of interject themselves in your existence. I got a lot of questions, right? A lot of questions. What do you this? What do you that? What do you believe about this? And it's almost a CIA technique, right? They try to create tension with silence and, awkwardity after they get you in a place where they're having a conversation with you. And then they'll just ask questions. And then they'll use silence. And it's just like what I was talking about earlier. They want to collect information. And isn't that interesting how that works? Right. Hypothetically, we'll say, what time do you go to bed at night? That'd be a good example for someone. I've heard that a lot of targets will deal with that. And then, of course, they get a noise campaign or whatever. Oh, when do you take days off? Right. That's another one. Do you have a day off? When? Oh, it's Thursday. Oh, okay. And then all of a sudden they start getting noise campaigns or harassment or whatever, electronic harassment or some type of sabotage. It's interesting, isn't it? Very, very obvious that something's going on there. And a lot of targets will deal with it. They'll move into a certain apartment complexes are a nightmare, right? It's I've dealt with it. It's weird. I mean, I was getting harassed when I was trying to make videos for the show, for the channel. And I thought, well, maybe it's just a coincidence that they got the landlord whisperer stereo and started blurring it every time I try to make a video. It's 2 in the afternoon or whatever. Maybe. What about the pounding on the walls and the directed conversations that people were screaming in the other apartment while constantly flushing the toilet like 20 times in a row? Really? Okay. Maybe. Probably not. But so then what I do? I start making videos in the middle of the night. Guess what happened? That's right. They're starting to do the same thing. Right? Now, that's not a coincidence. That's not a coincidence, man. It sounds crazy. Okay. But, a lot of targets will deal with that. And it's really weird because, the thing about it, you can't tell anybody about these things because you look like a nut. But it's proof. And I think Targeted Patton was talking about some of that stuff in one of his videos where he's like, how do they know these things anyway? It's almost proof that they're watching you somehow, some way. How do they know what's going on in your house? Right? That's the first thing that's going to pop in the mind of the victim. It's like, and then you're playing these little games, the lights are out. You're literally crawling like a lizard across the floor to the bathroom to try and sneak on the toilet to see if somebody go boom, and they'll come and pound on the wall or something. Because every time you sit on the toilet, they'll do it. Right? I've had targets talk about that. And it's you don't know. How are they seeing these things? How do they know? And you speculate as to what's going on. You could hear drilling noises maybe in the apartment below you. Maybe you experienced a break-in or whatever, and there was a little arrangement game being played or something going on. Well, now the games begin. Because now that you're made aware of that, now you're going to be hyper paranoid. And I've talked about the danger of this. Processing information is crucial for all targets. Who cares if someone is watching you do something normal? You got to get over that, guys. The whole idea of being scrutinized is a strategy. It is something that is used in this type of harassment. And people are very vain. They're very self-conscious. Not everybody. I think Nicholas is probably one of the exceptions to that, because I think he said that he didn't care anyway. They didn't really get anywhere with that with him, but some people become very timid, and they're showering in the dark. They've got some type of menagerie or a type of shading or whatever. They'll set up little walls with towels or with sheets and get behind it to change. You think somebody's watching you on the toilet? You don't know. Of course, they want that because they want you eventually to start scrutinizing yourself. And I've talked about that before. They want you to be your own handler. They do. They want you scrutinizing yourself. It's a natural scientific method. And it all involves, the trauma invasion, the idea that people are watching you, and the vanity and the pride of life that we already have. We all need privacy, right? That's why there's doors on bathrooms. That's why you don't shower out in the middle of the street, right? Right? That's not normal, right? There's people out there that are less affected by those things. But the whole idea of being scrutinized constantly is the problem. And sometimes it's the delusion. Sometimes it's nothing more than an illusion. They might just have a few bits of information. And I've talked about that before, that, somebody might be paid or whatever. It's like somebody will come up to them. So I'll give you $500 to say this. Just say this to them. It's about polka dotted underwear or something. Who knows? Right? Whatever. You got 3 green pairs of underwear and they know. How'd they know? They gotta be watching. They gotta be watching me. Not necessarily. Somebody might be. It might also be something spiritual, but you know, the thing is they want you to spiral into self-scrutiny so that you can't even think. You can't even think. You can't live your life. You've got to let those things go and realize they're the ones that need to be ashamed. It's very simple. Let me go back into the comments. Oh, interesting. We got Feng Loi in here again. Welcome to the live stream. Alternative homesteading, welcome. Daniel's delivery. Okay. And gang stalking needs to end. Welcome to live stream says. And we'll put that up there because it's a good one here. That they're tampering with that individual's mail. I thought I showed that. And now it's saying that it's not up there. I tried to put that up there. I'm going to try and find it again. Sorry about that. Okay. I don't know if it's up there. I apologize if it's not. And I'm going to try and find that again. Here, we're talking about V2K and some other things. Northlander. Welcome to the live stream. I'm trying to find that comment again. Here we go. I'll try to get that up there. They definitely tamper with my mail. Yeah. And a lot of targets are dealing with those things. You know, I had to get a P.O. box. It was ridiculous, you know. And I would suggest that anybody out there get USPS informed delivery, because then you will have a literal document and a picture. You could screenshot that with your phone, come to you in a notification, because I had literally people paying off the mailman. That's the only thing I could figure. I literally caught him in the act of taking mail from the IRS, and I went over his head, and it mysteriously ended up in my P.O. box a couple of days later, when they told me that it was sent back on accident because the mail was just, they thought that I had changed addresses, which was like 3 times that it happened, which was ridiculous. A lot of targets will deal with that whole thing. David Dotson, welcome to the live stream. And David says, yeah, with mail, post cervix steals stuff and claims incorrect address for some weird situation. Yeah. There's always a problem or some mysterious, delay or something. I tried to order some stuff from a popular website. I'm not going to mention it. I don't want to get in trouble. And it was the same thing. Then they finally wanted me to take a picture of my credit cards. I'm like, whatever, just cancel it. You know, it's like, whatever. This can't be that hard to order something, man. You know. Okay. And Nicholas says something interesting here. We'll put that up there. Nicholas says the V2K would say we are watching you in the shower, right? Yeah, hilarious. That's there's a lot of targets that are dealing with that kind of thing, and it's like I said, it's designed to get you in self scrutiny because they want you to be your own handler. I've talked about this with Nicholas. I've talked about it with a lot of people. They want you to be the tormentor. They want you banging your head against the wall, right? And thinking about all this stuff 24/7 and getting scared and wondering if people are, looking at you or whatever. You just got to get to the point where they are the ones that need to be ashamed. And remember that the legal framework is involved in this whole thing, and they're eventually going to have to answer for that. The legality of different acts, whether it is something that you should do or something that you shouldn't do, matter, right? And you cannot forget that as a target. And I've talked about that before. When you believe the lie that they are winning and they're going to get away with this stuff, you're playing into the strategy. It looks like that. The environmental tyranny is suggesting that they seem to be getting away with it. That is to create a type of tension in your mind that's going to drive you crazy and get you over the edge. They want you over the edge. They want you to think that you need to take action and that you need to try to solve these things and get you into solution mode and get you violent or whatever, or get you dysregulated or emotional. And then they're just going to gaslight you, or they're going to discredit you. That's all they're going to do. That's what they do. Yeah, and Weird Dolls dance. So let's put this one up here. Some of the things that targets deal with break-ins, they just don't, who's going to believe it? They come in and mess with your clothing or whatever. Somebody had ripped out the crotch on, I don't remember how many pairs of underwear. It was like 5 or 6, basically all my underwear. Completely just ripped the crotch out of them. Gone, I mean, how does that even happen? Right? And it's, underwear are cheap. I mean, there's not. I mean, I get, what, $20-$30 worth of underwear, you got to be, they last you years, except for all of a sudden, you're dealing with something else. And it's like, I probably didn't own those underwear for more than a few months. And then all of a sudden you put them on, they're like the boxer style, and it's like, whoa, a little drafty in here. They're ripped in half. Really, like that happened in the dryer. You just didn't notice that, huh? Hilarious. What are you going to say? You going to call the cops? They're ripping out the crotches of my underwear, and they switched the salad dressing and put the Italian in the ranch, and then they left my freezer off, and all my fish sticks melted. Really? How about that? we got the underwear bandit here. Yeah, we better make a report about this. I'll tell you what, buddy, if you call us again, we're going to take you down and talk to somebody at the hospital. Real nice guys in white coats. Yeah. Right? That's what they'll do. That's what they want. Okay. Well, guys, it's getting late, and I do have to go to work tomorrow. It's going to be a big day. But I appreciate you getting together with me. And I appreciate all of you who help support me and the channel and all your prayers, because things have been financially difficult. And I just like to thank everybody that's helped and support. The link is always in the description. And like I said, this is covert murder. This is something that is usually minimized. It's like chief handler will come in, you're just delusional or whatever. Or people will, mock you because something is going on and people are breaking in and, destroying your clothing. But it's more than that. It's incremental, and it is there to drive someone into a place of dysregulation. And who knows what's going to happen, right? Depending on the intensity of it, people talk about, maybe they got bets. You know, it's like I've seen that kind of thing. There was a target that told me that he was getting that hunt down campaign, and they chased him to a hotel, and he was literally just so messed up that he was thinking about killing himself, and he wrapped a belt around his neck, and he could hear him. You think he's going to do it? He's going to do it, isn't he? He's finally going to do it. And you can hear him talking about it. It's like they could watch, you know, it's crazy, the stuff that happens to targets. It's like no matter where you go, you're being hunted down, and there is solace with the Lord. And these things will be taken care of. There will be justice for you eventually. And right now, you're subjected to the environmental tyranny of this whole thing. And it seems never ending, and it seems as if there is no justice. Don't believe the lie. There is love, there is justice, there is goodness, and the Lord will bring it and with his kingdom as he comes back to take possession of Zion in its totality very soon. God bless. Be good to yourselves. Be safe.